Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I really want to talk about what happens when you go to manifest something and then the complete opposite ends up happening in your life, or you're trying to manifest something and then all of a sudden it's like, you're trying to be positive, you're trying to do all the right things, and then it just feels like your life is just falling apart. It feels like all of a sudden it's like I'm trying my best and everything seems to be working against me. If this is happening to you, I just want you to know that you are doing everything you're supposed to be doing, and this is exactly what's meant to be happening. So, I'm going to explain why and how you can trust this process, and also how you can move through it a lot faster as well. Alright, so just before we get into this, I want to take us back to like your childhood, like earliest years of life, and think back to when you were little and you would just want to do something. You would just do it usually. Like if you're a baby, you just cry because you don't know anything better. Like you would just cry if you want something, or you would just do this or that. Like there was no real explanation for things. You don't even really remember it. Like you were just kind of on autopilot. Like you just did things, things just happened. And as you got older though, it's kind of like your childhood starts off easier. Like everything feels a little bit easier when you're younger. Like you're able to just do things. You don't think too much about it. You're not judging yourself so much. You just be yourself. And then as we grow older though, we get like all these beliefs put on us, as in like judgment towards ourselves, we have judgment from others, and then we start to limit ourselves in certain ways. We start to think, okay, well, like maybe I can't have that because other people say that it's hard to have that, or they say that I shouldn't act this way, or they say this is wrong or this is bad. And now you accumulate over time all of these different negative beliefs. And if you haven't watched my last video, it's a very long talk if you want to watch it, but I go really far into detail on this subject of negative beliefs and basically how this whole process happens. But over time in your life, you accumulate so many negative beliefs that now you kind of are limiting yourself in a lot of aspects. But when you decide finally that you want to manifest one of your desires, you're saying like, okay, I want to change my belief about something, and now I want to assume the opposite. So let's say like your entire life you've assumed that earning money is difficult and it's a hard process and it takes a lot of work, a lot of effort to earn money. Then all of a sudden now you want to say earning money is easy. Like it's so easy for me to earn a lot of money. By doing this, what's going to happen is, first off, you're going to put new coordinates into your GPS, because the universe kind of like, it always takes your order. Like, you put your coordinates in, and immediately, as soon as you affirm for something new, I'm telling you, you are on that timeline. Like, people think that you have to affirm to be on that timeline, but it's the moment that you affirm, you are on that timeline, and you are now headed towards that new goal of whatever it is you want. Like, immediately, the moment you affirm, okay? So now let's say you're headed on that pathway now, down the pathway of earning money is easy. It's easy to earn more money. But now you got to think about, the universe knows that you have limiting beliefs regarding this topic. Like you cannot lie to yourself, okay? Is one thing that I need everyone to understand. You cannot lie to yourself. So the universe knows if you have limiting beliefs and you don't fully believe this. And I want you to think of like you going towards your desire as kind of like playing a video game, okay? So if you think of a video game, you have levels in a video game, and you always have to defeat the boss at that level to get to the next level, and then you defeat that boss to get to the next level, the next level, the next level, so finally you win the game, right? So think of this like you going towards your desire. Everyone thinks that it's going to be like a straight shot from A to B, like you just drive there and you just get there and it's fine because I changed my belief. Now I believe that I can earn more money and it's easy. But what happens during this process is now every other belief that's also blocking this is going to come up for you, because the universe is going to take you down this pathway towards your desire. But to take you down this pathway, you're going to have to defeat all of the bosses that come before it, all of the limiting beliefs that come before it. So people think that as soon as something negative starts happening, that, oh no, now I'm not on the right timeline anymore. Now I'm not manifesting my desire anymore. I must be doing something wrong, because it should just be a straight drive. I should just get there and it should just be easy, People think that as soon as something negative happens, it's like, oh my God, I'm not manifesting correctly. I'm doing something wrong. I'm not affirming right. I need to affirm more. That's not it though. You want the negative things. You want them. Like you should see a negative challenge and be like, all right, first boss, let's go. Because the whole thing is, you got to break down that boss to get to the next one and the next one. And again, your desire sits up here, right? It's like that final boss. Once you defeat them, you win. So let's say again, your belief is, that you want to say making money is easy, but again, you've believed your entire life that making money is hard. And you've also believed that maybe you have to work really long hours or something. So, like, during this timeline, maybe all of a sudden now your boss just gives you a ton more work all of a sudden out of nowhere. And now they're like, they're not going to be paying you more. Maybe now you get a bill for something in the mail as well. And you're like, what the heck? I just affirmed for this one thing, but now I'm getting all this stuff. Like, what? Like, and then in this moment, this is when most people freak out and they're like, okay, well, manifesting is not working. Something must be going wrong. I must be doing something wrong. But this is a moment that you don't want to assume that. This is a moment where you want to basically let yourself feel in this moment. Like, I'm talking, if you are upset about this, if this negative thing is triggering you, that is what it's meant to do. It's meant to trigger you because it's meant to bring the negative emotions that you need to get rid of up to the surface. So think of like all this stuff you've been pushing down. It's now going to start flowing to the surface. All of your limiting beliefs that are in the way of what you want are going to come up so that you can dissolve them. But if you don't dissolve them, if you repress them and push them down by affirming more, by trying to be more positive, then you're only going to make the process harder. So instead of trying to affirm more, be more positive, feel your emotions. Allow yourself to feel upset, allow yourself to feel angry about this, but then ask yourself, why am I angry? Why is this making me so upset? Talk the emotions out with yourself. Talk to yourself about what you're feeling, say what you're feeling, say what upsets you, but then also at the same time, as you start to speak these things out to yourself, as you bring them out into the surface, like you are physically saying what's making you upset, what's making you feel uncomfortable, because this is going to feel uncomfortable. You say it to yourself. You say, like, you know what? Yeah, getting more bills in the mail is stressing me out. Like, I don't want to have to pay more money. This is making me so scared. Like, why is this happening? And then the more that you talk it out, though, you will find that you start to find like the root of the problem. Like you just keep going further and further down, being like, why do I feel the need to make more money? Why do I feel the need to, do this or that? Eventually, it usually comes back to something like a limiting belief that you've had for like a really long time in your life that you didn't even know was still there. Like something for me was like, I always felt the need to be working all the time. Like I always had to be working 24/7 because my parents used to always say things like, get off the couch, like you can't just be watching TV, like you always had to be doing something. And I felt like I was a lazy person if I wasn't working 24/7. Like it meant that I was not doing enough. So I had to dispel that limiting belief. So this is what will happen if you just talk to yourself about what you're feeling about this negative scene that just came up in your life, because that's really what's happening. The universe is bringing the emotion to the surface, as in like it is manifesting the emotion right in front of you so that you can deal with it in the physical world. So this can also come in the form of someone speaking something to you. So you could receive like very negative feedback from someone. Someone could say something really mean to you or really judgmental that really hurts your feelings. And this is when you need to go and talk it out with yourself. And you need to be like, okay, what emotion is this negative scene or this negative situation bringing up in me? Like what negative beliefs is this bringing up in me? And you don't necessarily have to talk through it all if you don't want to, but the number one thing you need to do is feel the emotion. Like let yourself cry if you need to cry. Let yourself, scream it out if you need to scream it out. Again, like try and do this with yourself though. I wouldn't recommend like, going and screaming at another person because again, that's just putting that energy on someone else. Try to do it within yourself. Again, you could talk to a therapist about this if you prefer to do it that way, but a lot of people, like this is perfectly, like you can do it within yourself. All on your own. All it takes is letting yourself feel what you need to feel, because most of us go through life and we just repress everything that's uncomfortable to us, like every emotion that's uncomfortable. All we do is we push it down. Like I know for me, when it came to money issues, like I was so stressed about it all the time. Like I would not want to talk about it. Like if someone would bring up something in conversation about, taxes and bills, I would just like freeze up and like would not want to say anything about it. Whereas now it's like I just speak about it to myself. I'm like, you know what? Like, yeah, this does bother me. I don't like how this makes me feel. I feel stressed. I feel nervous. I feel anxious about it. And then I like let myself feel, like have a therapy session with yourself as you're going through these negative things. And at the same time as you're going through this, again, when you bring stuff to the surface, you will figure out that most of the limiting beliefs that you have are really just lies that you've been telling yourself your whole life. Things that you don't have to believe anymore. And so what you do once those limiting beliefs come up, you just change them. So if your belief was, I have to be working 24/7 to earn money, because we said in the beginning, our example here is that it's easy to earn money, and you have this belief that you've always had to work 24 hours a day, to make money, then you have to change that belief as well. It's kind of like when you have something you're manifesting and you change that belief, right? Like you think like you're flipping that belief. Okay, so now it should manifest. But when you do that, there's so many other limiting beliefs that you have to also change in the process of this, because usually it's a complex thing. Like whatever it is you're manifesting, it's not just one limiting belief. Usually it's a bunch of them. So again, it's like, it comes with the territory. If you want to manifest being rich or something, you got to work through every single limiting money belief that you have. And the universe brings them up right for you. It's like it puts it on a silver platter in front of you and it shows you it in the physical world just so that you can get rid of it. So when you get these negative so-called blockages coming up in your life and you're like wondering what you're doing wrong, stop looking at it that way. You're not doing anything wrong. This is exactly what's supposed to be happening. And all you have to do in this situation, once again, is feel whatever you need to feel. Notice the limiting belief in this situation, what's causing this to come up, and switch that limiting belief as well. So if you talk through it with yourself, naturally, you'll normally switch this belief. Just because if you're having a therapy session with yourself, generally by the end of it, once you've had a good cry and you sort of like work through things, you will most of the time end up saying something positive to yourself as reinforcement. You'll be like, you know what? Like, even though I believe all this, I know that I am making progress. I know that by like talking about this, I'm moving forward. As long as you find some positive in it, you will continue to move forward. As long as you don't look at this negative situation as harming your progress, as doing something wrong, you will move forward. It really just is about your perspective on the situation. But all I can say is do not repress emotions. Feel whatever you need to feel. Allow it to come out. But during that process, be kind to yourself and, again, find the positive in this situation. Find the positive of why this is happening, because there's always an answer to why it's happening. It's meant to make you realize that this limiting belief is not who you really are. It's not something you have to carry with you anymore, and it's trying to get you to dispel it. So I hope this is clear. I feel like that was a very long explanation of like a simple process, but really it's just like, you can think of in a video game, once again, it's like breaking down each wall that's in front of you. You have like your pathway of where you want to go, and you got all these walls that are all limiting beliefs that are ahead of the place that you want to go. And so you got to smash through each one of these walls to get to where you want to go. So although it might feel terrible at first, it might feel like, I'm running in head first into, a big disaster or something, that's what's going to happen. The universe is going to bring these up faster and faster as well, the more that you're willing to work through them. So if you're willing to work through one negative situation and it sees that you've gone over that really quickly, it's going to be like, all right, next one, here we go. So you're going to get thrown into all these negative situations, but the faster that you can just be okay with them and be like, you know what, it's part of the process. I accept this is happening right now. This is okay. I needed to go through this. Like, as long as you accept it and you know that these negative situations are actually a sign that you are making progress forward towards your desire, then you will move faster and faster and faster through them, to the point where it'll start to get easy to move through negative situations. Start to get to the point where you just know that, all right, this is happening, whatever, I'm going to get through it. Like, it'll happen. It'll be fine. The more and more you move through negative situations, also the stronger that you get as well, the stronger your mindset. And you need that mindset to get to where you want to go. So if you see in the process of all of this, you're not only dispelling negative beliefs, but you're also building the mindset you need to be the person you want to be that has the thing that you want to have. I also want to acknowledge that the further your desired outcome is from where you currently are, the more negative situations you're likely going to have to work through to get to where you want to go. Because if you think about your limiting beliefs regarding some huge goal that you want in your life, this is where we talk about bigger manifestations, things that you really, really want, versus something like a cup of coffee. If you think of a cup of coffee, like, you maybe have one or two limiting beliefs to getting a free cup of coffee, and that's very easy to work through, so you can manifest it very easily. Whereas these larger manifestations, you got to work through so much just to get to where you want to go. So it can seem to take longer, but that's really just because there's more negative beliefs, limiting beliefs that you have to work through to get there. Alright, so as I was recording the second part of this video, the video itself did not save on my laptop. The storage ran out. So yeah, the entire video got lost. In the past, I used to get super angry over this. I would be very upset right about now and just be fuming, but clearly there's been progress because I don't get this way anymore, and I know that everything happens for a reason, and the fact that I'm recording this video as that happened is just, it's kind of funny to me. But anyway, so I apologize if I kind of repeat myself or say anything I said before, but essentially I wanted to talk about later in this video was the process of basically how your journey from A to B is going to be very up and down, and that is completely the way it's supposed to be, because as I talked about in my other video, the fastest way to get to where you want to go is by being neutral, staying on a mid-line, like staying right in the middle of the positive and the negative, because when they balance out, that is when you move the fastest through so-called time. And again, you can watch my videos on Einstein's theory of relativity and the one after that if you want to learn more about this topic. But in that video, I used the example of like a swing set, which also I found kind of funny later on because I realized that the thumbnail of my channel is someone on a swing set, so clearly I was manifesting this content for the future. But I use the example of a swing set or a pendulum. If you can think of the pendulum ride at the fair, I don't really know exactly what it's called. It's like that big thing that goes like this, and then eventually, you know, it goes all the way up and around. It looks like a pendulum though. And then you can just think of a swing set, but basically, the most force, like for a pendulum or something like a swing set, comes from the midline, like when you're straight up and down, right in the middle. Like all the force comes from this. So what happens when you are in the middle, neutral, by dispelling negative beliefs, you stay kind of like equally positive and negative. And the more that you do that, the faster you start to move back and forth, because you're staying very neutral. And your speed just picks up, and eventually, like, you just start going like this, moving through things so quickly, so fast, okay? And you can think of it like moving through cycles very, very quickly in your life. And again, you move through time more quickly, so like I was saying before, you will find that negative situations start to happen more quickly. Like, you will have this negative situation come up in your life, and then immediately have a sense of relief, but then again, you're just thrown into the next one, and you have a sense of relief, and you just keep moving through them until eventually you get to where you want to go. And to move through time more quickly, once again, comes from being in a neutral state, as in moving through the negative and the positive easily. Like I think of it like a dolphin swimming through the ocean. If you think of how a dolphin moves through the ocean, it's like this, right? And the dolphin comes up to the surface for air, and then goes back down. That's exactly what you're doing, and that's the way that it's meant to be done, okay? So it means you're doing everything right if you're doing that. But I also want to say that what happens if you are not dispelling these negative beliefs right away is that you basically don't build up enough momentum here to like go all the way around the cycle. So you don't end the cycle out, basically. So you stay in this cycle of just doing the same thing. You're on the swing set and you can never go all the way around. Or on the ride at the fair and you can't make it the whole way around. Like, I don't know if anyone saw the recent video at the fair. There was the pendulum ride that I'm talking about. It got stuck upside down. And I really think that that was a manifestation of things going on, like in my own life at least. The fact that I got stuck. And that's what happens to many of us, is that we get stuck part way through a cycle, and then what happens is we got to repeat that cycle. It's kind of like, I like to also talk about it like a car or a bicycle. Like, you think you're on a bike, you're going down a hill, and then you want to build up enough momentum to go up the next big hill so that you don't have to pedal all the way up. But sometimes what happens is, you don't have enough momentum on the going down, so that you go partway up the hill, and then let's just say your bike rolls back down, right? Like, it didn't get enough momentum to go above the hill, okay? So this is often what happens to many of us. Like, we don't have enough momentum to get through the cycle. We don't dispel the negative belief that we need to get through. So what happens is the universe puts you through that same cycle again and again and again. And this is why you see people living out the same negative situation over and over in their life. And I'm sure you've experienced this too. This is how you get stuck in life. You end up, going through a relationship with someone, and then you experience the same type of relationship with another person, and then another person, and another person. And it's because the universe is trying to get you to figure out what the negative belief is that's holding you back from having the thing you want. So instead of just jumping to the next person, maybe this didn't work out, so you jump to the next thing. Like, instead of just doing that, you also want to think about, like, why is this happening again and again? If there's something repeating in your life, there's a reason for that. And so there is something you need to feel. And it's not about, blaming yourself for the situation or getting angry at yourself for it. It's about letting yourself understand why this is happening. And that comes with, once again, awareness of it, speaking about it with yourself. And I don't know if I talked about this in the first half of the video, but I basically said that you do not have to go searching for negative beliefs. Oftentimes, if there's something that you want to happen in your life and you say, like, this is my desired outcome, you affirm for it, whatever, the universe will automatically bring those situations up for you. Like, they will bring the feelings up for you or set you up with situations where you have to feel that feeling. So in that moment, your only job is really to feel what you're going through, to understand why it's coming up in your life, why the negative situation is repeating. You don't have to go searching for it. It will do that part for you. But again, if you have a repeating cycle in your life, there is a reason that that thing is repeating again and again, over and over. It's because it's something that is blocking you from where you want to go. And the universe will just keep putting you through that cycle until you figure it out, until you understand it, or until you approach it in, like, a neutral way, or once again, you dispel the negative belief that needs to be dispelled in that situation. And most of the time, for many of us, to remain neutral in our life, to remain on that path, moving quickly through time, it comes with dispelling negative beliefs, because most of us are in more of a negative mindset than a positive one, right? So we have to balance it out. Anyways, I hope this is making sense. Once again, I'll make more videos on these topics. Ask me questions below. I also wanted to say, too, though, that there was a study that I read recently I thought was interesting, could be related to this, I think it was a Harvard study, I'm not really sure, to be honest, but basically they looked at entrepreneurs and startup businesses and the ones that were successful versus not successful. And it's interesting because many of them had failures, like they all had failures, and even the successful ones went through many failures. But the thing that they noticed, one correlation, was that the time between failures was shorter in these successful ones. So, like, basically the time from failing to trying again was shorter. So they didn't spend all this time ruminating over what had failed. They were just like, okay, that was a failure, what can I learn from this? And then they went straight on to the next thing. And that's exactly what you do when you're moving towards your desire. You don't look at it as a negative situation that's holding you back. You look at it as, okay, what is this teaching me? What can I learn from this? Like, what negative belief do I need to dispel? And then you move forward to the next step, right? It makes sense. Like, it really makes sense. And I always use examples like famous people or, really successful people in our world. Like, Steve Jobs was a good example. Like, he got let go or something from his own company, and he had so many other things go wrong, and he still moved forward, though. That's the thing. Like, he just tried again, and he was successful, right? So that's one thing that I want to say, is just keep trying. Like, don't give up because one thing failed. And you also want to learn, though, from your mistakes. Like, what is it that's causing the situation to repeat? Let that emotion come up, deal with it, and then move on to the next thing. Like, don't let a setback cause you to not take that next step again, because they showed, once again, in, like, these startup businesses, like, if someone was to fail and then just ruminate over that for years, like, it would take them way longer to reach success if they just, every single failure, they just spent all this time thinking about, like, well, this sucks, I don't know why this happened, and not really going to the root cause of it, and not even just taking that next step, like, just moving forward from it, just being like, okay, this happened, but I'm going to try again. Like, it's just, don't ruminate over why something really happened even. Like, don't try to spend all your time trying to fully understand that, if that makes you frustrated. Like, literally just feel whatever feelings you need to feel and then move forward if that works for you. You don't even have to talk it out with yourself fully. As long as you're feeling the feelings and accepting yourself, like, letting that happen and just moving forward, then it'll work out either way. Like, it's really just a matter of acceptance of every situation that happens along your journey of manifesting something. Hopefully this was a decent explanation. I'm not gonna lie, I did prefer my first explanation that got erased, but everything, once again, happens for a reason, so I'm gonna believe that this was meant to be the way that it is. I hope this video is helpful on your manifestation journey. I just hope more people are, open now to negative things happening. Like, just be excited about the next negative situation, honestly. Just know that it is you making progress forward, and the faster you're experiencing them, the faster you're making progress forward, and that also includes continuing to know where you're going, right? No matter what, through all of this, remember where you're going. Remember what you said. Like, remember your desired outcome. I like to think of it kind of like an arrow and like a bullseye. Like, I know that's where I'm going, so whatever's happening right now is taking me there. That's exactly where I'm headed, okay? So just believe in that. All right. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one, right? Bye.